I'm
Yeah,
recording
so
it now.
you mentioned do you need a lawyer and accountant? What type of lawyer, like business lawyer, and then um
Kind of
what's it
CPA.
called? AJC, yeah, CPA, whatever.
Um, so there's a couple. So this is not something else that I'm including too. So there's a couple of services that will do bookkeeping for you. So do you know like there's a difference between like bookkeeping and then actual accounting and like tax saving strategy. And this is something that I've learned the hard way. So I'm talking about taxes. I'm not talking about the lawyer thing.
Hmm.
Um, I set up the wrong legal entity, so I need a lawyer, a business lawyer, and this is something I'm in the process of to make a entity conversion to change from a corporation to an LLC because right now I'm paying double tax. I'm already in a very high tax state like New York, FML. And
Yep.
so like that's why I personally need a lawyer. Sometimes you need a lawyer that has experience with contracts and things like that, a business lawyer, um, to help redline your own contracts or like refine your contracts to protect you. And they have to understand the nature of your work, and they have hourly fees of like sometimes it's 500 plus, sometimes it's a little bit less. Like I know two lawyers, both of them were referred to by my stepmom who's a CPA, and so she works with a law firm actually, and so her boss referred a lawyer, and then she's friends with um one of her friends is an accountant and her husband's a lawyer, and referred to me, and he was referred to me as well. So it's like it's good to have like a Rolodex of people that you can reach out to if one isn't available, one's in law, like one's in court for something, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's the law stuff. That's how you would need a lawyer to cover your ass, and even to review. Like if a client or like someone gives you a crazy proposal, which shouldn't be that way, but say that you have to do an NDA, you have to do something to do business with them, you would have a lawyer review that for you and be like, they would redline it, and they would help you redline it. Redlining means like making edits on it. They would review that for you and then be like, hey, uh I don't know if you want to sign your left kidney away like it says right here in the in the red dot. Something that a lawyer would point out is like, hey, this there's actually a point here that says that you wouldn't be able to work with anyone in their industry or whatever. Like, are you sure you want to do that? Like they make they help protect you, right? And then with a CPA, I have the CPA not necessarily on staff, but I hired a dude, and I pay him $550 a month just for bookkeeping, and like having him. You usually don't pay accountants monthly. Like you usually pay them whenever they do the bookkeeping or some shit like that. That from what I've seen from my friends, I can be wrong. um you need that CPA so bookkeeping is essentially making sure that you have your P&L per month, your profit and your losses. um I also in the past have used like QuickBooks. So the accountant basically manages my QuickBooks for me. And then we'll have like a monthly call, and he'll be like, you're doing this, you're doing this. Like, to be honest, he doesn't tell me anything I don't know. Um, but he did tell me that like, hey, he'll extend my taxes or something like that. But he will tell me like, hey, like you're paying way too much doing this. He will give me some tax saving strategies. He's good in that way. But I found out that I had to hire another tax strategist on an hourly basis to just get more insights as to how I can save more taxes, like setting up a legal entity in actually Florida, which I found out was doable. But then I was talking to another friend. It's so important to have friends in business so that you can like cross reference and you can do referrals for each other. More importantly, like, hey, what lawyer do you work with? Hey, what CPA do you work with? Oh, he's kind of pricey. Oh, trust me, he's good though. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's kind of like the nature of it. He helps me with that. I'm always looking for, the next best service and stuff like that. Some people pay a lot more for their CPA because they save with a lot of taxes, and I think that's the next step for me. Um, but yeah, that's why I need a lawyer right now, because I'm trying to do an entity conversion from a corporation into an LLC, because that's cheaper taxes for me right now, since I don't do a lot of payroll. It's just me and one other person, essentially.
Yeah. Nice.
It gets so annoying to do payroll too. Like if you're a corporation, you have, yeah, it's so annoying. So you need someone to do that because you need to focus on the delivery. You need to focus on the clients. You need to focus on the, initially you're doing a little bit of everything, right? And then once you do a little bit of everything, you can actually outsource it.
Nice. So how long does it take to like transition to an LLC?
I don't know the process too well, which is
Not
why
yet.
I'm talking to the
Oh,
lawyer.
yeah.
Apparently it takes a minute. Like I don't want to talk too much about it because again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I would say hire one, talk to, like, the
Yeah.
best thing that you could do, again, ask for referrals and um ha- do consultations at least. Like the best thing you could do, they all offer free consultations. Do consultations with several, um, and understand, like there's other softwares you can use QuickBooks on your own. Um, Honeybook for me also does a really great P&L per month and shows me more or less that stuff. It just doesn't take into account my expenses and what I pay contractors and stuff like that. But yeah, you could do it on your own. It's so much easier to hire someone to do that. That's like why people hire us, right? They can run their ads on their own. Usually they can't, but they hire us to do an even better job and to save more money with them and to make more money with them.
That's true.
I would like to think
Yeah.
so, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
like why you hired me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're trying to navigate this landscape a little bit more and trying to make more money on the side as a business owner, try and actually position yourself as someone selling the service as opposed to just doing the service while also doing better on the service, because being excellent is like the baseline minimum, right? That's what I always teach. And then on your end, okay, you're looking for someone who's already done it to kind of make it easier for you. So you hire a consultant for that.
Mm-hmm.
And just in
That's
my
true.
case, you hired a coach and a coach extraordinaire. I might be a little biased. I don't know. I'm very biased.
Right. What made you make the decision to hire Conrad?
What made me make the decision to hire Conrad? Damn, you coming at me, right? I was like, yeah, we can record this for content for YouTube. And then you're just like, I'm ready, bro. I'm realizing hiring people in general, there's better ways to go about it. However, one thing for Conrad for me is that he was a culture fit in the sense that I was thinking about building an agency, and not necessarily an agency. I like to consider it like a consultancy because I never want to grow it past 10 clients. I don't really care to do that. Um, and Conrad and I thought the same. We had a lot of the same values. I also worked with Conrad he was my coaching client. He was one of my coaching clients. And I noticed he had a lot. One, he was very gifted and he was able to pick things up quickly. And I also noticed, like, whenever I gave him an assignment, um, he would either not do it at all or go like a million miles away with it. And I do that too. And so I think you initially want to hire someone that is the opposite of you in a way. But for me, I saw him as a potential to be like my partner in something. And that's what it grew to be. There was a lot of hiccups initially, and like there was a lot of mistakes made, and and what I always tried to convey with him. And I don't know if I did the best job, right? It was my first time, but just let him know that like mistakes are okay, and I'm willing to invest in your mistakes, and I'm willing to take a hit, whatever, as long as as long as your passion is there, and this is something that you want to do long term, and as long as as long as you improve on them, because I make mistakes left and right. That's I think like the only way to success is like through multiple failures, and then eventually crack the code. So yeah, I would say it's like it was a culture fit. He was incredibly intelligent too. He had a great balance of an analytical and creative mind, very similar to myself. So, like I saw potential in him for eventually taking over the quality of work that I put into accounts, and I was right because it's very hard to hire a media buyer. They're either too analytical or too creative. I prefer to hire someone who's creative and then teach them analytical skills, because it's so, you can't, how do you teach someone to, I don't know, how do you teach someone to know what's a good, like you have to have that desire and the passion for it initially. I never want to hire someone who's just into the account. Like we were talking about before, you said the phrase that I've said before, which is like a, like kind of like a code monkey, or just
Click
someone in the
monkey.
accounts
Yeah.
adjusting bids. What was the word? I forgot it.
The click monkey.
Yeah, click monkey, like just like clicking through. I want someone who can think and offer solutions to our clients, which Conrad does tenfold. And if he's seeing this, it's just good job, Conrad.
Nice.
Yeah.
What were some
I have a module. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have a
uh-huh.
lot of thoughts on hiring people and hiring contractors after hiring so many. And so like I created that module on hiring contractors and how to go about it, and like even onboarding. Like I I did not onboard, Conrad. Usually like startups that have under 10 people, like there's no onboarding process. The best thing that you could do on your end if you're, starting off is like hiring someone who's more an expert and kind of biting the bullet with how expensive they are initially. But if you want to train, it's like you really need to understand that that person's not going to be profitable the first 3 to 6 months. It's usually 90 days, but sometimes even more. So, and that's something that's a risk that you have to take, and sometimes it won't work. But that's just what we do in the nature of business. It's, calculated risk taking. So now I'm helping someone onboard a media buyer. And since I've worked on hiring media buyers and onboarding them on behalf of agencies and companies, like I realize like, okay, better way to do this is to have onboarding calls the first, month of like either every day or every other day of like tasks that you have to do. And here's what you blah, blah, blah. And like just laying things out. Actually, I'm going to just show you what I put together for her. And I think this would be cool, for you starting, not necessarily a media buyer, but maybe hiring like someone to help you with like a junior media buyer, like a coordinator, an assistant, something like that. So she's onboarding this person. You want to make sure you have an expectation and values and an overview of principles and things like that. You want to make sure that you have an understanding of your timing, Slack communication, confirmation on working hours too, especially if there's a time difference. Like something initially early on that I had to do is like, hey, for my own sake, if I send a Slack note to you, just let me know that you viewed it with a thumbs up or with an eye emoji or whatever. And just so happened Mega was also doing similarly with this. And I was just like, I wish I laid this out for you a bit earlier. And so when we actually laid it out, she was like, this is so much easier to digest. So she uses, in my case, I use Notion. Make sure you have a good understanding of Notion and how we work. My process overview of like when there's a task for a client, here's how we assign it. Operations, making sure you review operations, reviewing client accounts, like make sure you schedule these out in the week. So it's like today we're going over, this client 1, client 2, client 3. Here are the Loom videos. You can go over it with the person and then you create a video of it afterwards so they can review the recording. Anything that you miss, create Loom videos for them. Troubleshooting accounts. Here's what we do. Here's our process when the client, or like when the client says this, client's not happy with this, here's how you do it. A lot of this also for that person, like Conrad had to shadow me a lot. So here's how I do it. Here's how I write the emails. And then I would, after that call, I'd be like, well, how do you feel about that? What'd you think? And I'm, like letting him know the nature of the business. Sometimes clients just need reassuring and understanding. You are a lot of the times our translator. So if he says like, you know, why is CPA, like I'm looking at the past 7 days and CPA is going up by X amount, blah, 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 or like, what is the strategy behind this campaign that's going on? You have to explain to them the overall strategy and how that one piece fits. And then you have to explain like, hey, week over week, we're actually, you might be looking at the wrong numbers. Week over week, we're actually seeing a decrease, or we did see a jump in CPA, but we also saw an increase in ROAS. So, I don't think that, we will prioritize profit over anything. We saw an increase in CPA, but if we're looking at a bigger window, the past 14 days, we're actually seeing a decrease overall. It just so happens that we're recently testing this new account. So when we change the automated bidding strategy from target CPA to target ROAS. There was just a bit of a learning phase that occurred there. So initial spend fluctuated, but that should regulate based on current trends or whatever. And we're going to continue to monitor, like responses just like that. They just need reassurance. They just need to understand that you're on top of it. And that's what I provide. And that's why I can charge higher management fees, because I'm always explaining that to the client. That's kind of like the consulting piece of managing, is like you're also teaching, you're consulting, right? You're business consulting too. And then you're able to tie that into overall business goals too. Is that's really important. And that's what we go over a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My other question was, what was like the biggest mistakes you made during when you were creating your agency?
Not hiring people and doing everything myself. I think that's a big one. The other thing is like doing a little bit of everything. I think like initially, like I was like, I kind of didn't want to run ads anymore, and I kind of wanted to take a break. So I was like, I was doing organic social media.
Mhm.
Oof, worst thing ever. Worst thing I've ever done. Um, I've also done like website design, landing page optimization, or building out landing pages and then A/B testing with like Google Optimize and stuff like that. And I just realized like the best thing that I could do is have a signature service. Like the concept of the T-shaped marketer, right? I think that's probably the best way to um, secure higher profit as well, is like specializing and being an expert in a specific thing. And then, now I can offer email marketing services because I can hire someone like Conrad and additional support to manage email for the clients. Why I oversee everything. So I see myself as like quality control. And then I still do our calls with our clients because I haven't given that up yet. I don't think I ever will. It's very important for me to
Yeah.
stay in accounts too, always. Um, so that I actually am practicing what I'm teaching. And then it keeps me fresh because things change so fast, like how things were this year versus last year. And Facebook, it's so different. And now TikTok is becoming a thing, and TikTok is not necessarily like super scientific, not necessarily scientific. It's not super like heavy on audience segmentation and things like that. Audiences like that perform well in prospecting are fairly broad, and it's a matter of like producing the right kind of UGC and being strategic on what you're testing with the user generated content, if people don't know what UGC is, and having a good cadence for that. And then like sourcing the right influencers and testing these influencers out. This influencer ad performs better from this one because of like, and understanding those creative insights. And like, yeah, so it's like a completely different landscape, I feel like, year over year. So if I'm not heavily involved into it, at least on the strategy piece, and even managing the accounts, like I would lose my magic touch. Yeah.
Yeah, that
And I
makes
really like
sense.
it. So
Mhm. Last question. How do you
did you write
deal
these out?
with, no, it's just coming on top of my head.
Holy shit, you're good. All right, go for it.
How do you deal with account troubleshooting?
How do I deal with account troubleshooting? It looks like you're reading something. You read it.
No, I did not.
Oh my, you wrote it, I
I'm just
mean.
looking at the screen. I'm looking at you right
Oh.
now.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, you thought of these quick. How do I deal with account troubleshooting? Um, okay. It all starts with understanding the problem, right? What's the problem of the account? Okay, if performance is down, so it's an e-commerce account. So usually what happens in an e-commerce account is everything turns to shit. Your campaigns aren't working. Um, CPA is increasing, conversion rates down, ROAS is down, your thumb shop ratio is down, your creatives suck, all of that. So it's like, say if it's on Facebook, let's do Facebook as an example. We would have to evaluate which campaign is spending the most amount of money. So which campaign, like usually it's prospecting, because prospecting, the way I divvy it up, it's either 60-40 or 70% 30%, like, so it takes 70% of the budget. So what's going on in prospecting here? Are we seeing frequency go up? Are we experiencing creative fatigue? So like pinpointing that problem exactly. I have a much structured way to review this. Um, but it's pretty much like going through an audit in your head, like you're auditing the account again. Is conversion tracking accurate? Is what you're seeing on the account reflective of what you're seeing in the overall business? You know, like for e-commerce, I use Triple Whale. Another one is like North Beam, okay, to see where that dip is. If everything is going smooth and well in the account, might be an overall landscape issue, might be something on the website. You just have to put on your problem solving hat, right? Which is what I tell you all the time, and which I'm glad that you're starting to do, is like you're not thinking of necessarily just in the Google Ads account. You're not thinking in that siloed purview. You're thinking about the overall website and the overall website performance. So I would go into Google Analytics too, and I would check like, okay, where are we seeing major drop offs? Where, you know, like, is there, even in the Facebook account, I would try and tie up what I'm seeing like on Google Analytics in the e-commerce overview. Like, okay, decrease in conversion rate. And then I'll look at like the funnel, where are the biggest jump offs, where the biggest decreases. Then I'll jump back on Facebook. I'm like, okay, is there like a dip in the add to cart ratio, or purchase add to cart ratio, or add to cart to purchase ratio? Has there been a decrease there? Okay, did something happen on the add to cart page? You know, like I'm just trying to solve. I'm asking questions as I go, and then I start formulating a hypothesis. So, for example, an issue happened in an account, and we're like, why is performance decreasing? Like nothing has changed in the account. So, what's happening overall? I mean, like we just noticed the overall conversion rate for the website had dipped week over week. So it's like maybe it's an ebb and flow of business. But regardless, what can we do to optimize in the account? Okay, so we noticed that on the weekends, you know, CPA and conversion rate just like takes an abysmal dip. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to create some rules so that we spend 10% less on the weekends, as opposed like doing some day parting as opposed on the weeks. And right now we have to do that manually because those rules aren't working right now. And so we're working with the meta team to like help us troubleshoot that, but whatever. So 10%. And then we also verified with our reps that 10% less won't muck with our campaign performance, right? It won't make our campaigns go back to a learning phase. And this is just a test, and we ran it already for a weekend, and we're kind of still monitoring. And so far, there's been an increase in performance week over week. Metrics in this account where we care about the most is CPA. So CPA is down by 11%. So, okay, something's working. And then also with creative fatigue, we saw that frequency maybe jumped, not by a lot. Like I don't think it was crazy, but like 15% or something like that week over week. That was like the only big change. So it's just like, okay, let's introduce new ads and let's test new headlines. And there's smarter ways to go about that, but that's just the idea. And now the next step is like, okay, which ad creatives do we introduce? What's the hypothesis that we're trying to test here? Yeah, and then it's also like, should we open up audiences more? um can we exclude more audiences within our prospecting campaign to decrease audience overlap? So we're looking at that. So that was that specific example in that account of like where we're seeing like this decrease in performance week over week, and we're just like, okay, nothing is happening. Sometimes it's just an ebb and flow of business. Like I told you, I woke up and Facebook randomly just paused my ads at 3 p.m. and I'm trying to figure out why. Because you can look at the change history, and I'm just like, does someone muck with these accounts? And I saw it was Facebook. It was like Facebook made this change at 3 p.m. I was like, bro. And so my performance was so bad that day, and like we were on a roll, and we were testing so many new creatives. Like we were testing like a ton of really great like collection ads, and um pairing that with like the landing instant experience. So it's like an additional landing page there. If you go into the account titled starts with the E, I don't want to say it here. You can even see the ads that we're testing and how Facebook just kind of fucked it midday yesterday, but whatever. Like shit like that happens all the time. And so you just have to have your problem solving hat. I have like a whole, like a checklist of things that I do, like check this, check this, check this. And I have it in a document. And whoever's watching that, like, please comment below if you'd like to see that document. I likely will have to take your email. I mean, the law of reciprocity, if you've read, what's that book? By, oh man, my brain. Influence by Robert Cialdini. One of the principles of influence, or one of the laws of influence, I forget what he refers to it, is reciprocity. So like with a lead magnet, if I give you something, you give me something in return. So if you want that document, happy to give it to you, but nothing in this life is free. You just need an email. That's all. Let me email market to you. That's all. It's not a big deal. No one's going to want this. No one's going to watch this. No one.
Yeah, those are all the questions I had.
You wrote that shit down, bro. You're so
No, I
funny,
just started off
bro.
my head.
You
I don't
looking
know
at
how
the
I
group
did it
chat?
either.
You looking at the group chat or something?
No, I mean I'm in the group chat and I know what they want, so
Oh, okay.
it's
All
just
right.
in
No,
my
I
head.
appreciate you. No, that's it.
Yeah.
That's actually good. That's good. That's strategic. Well,
Hmm.
this was a fun recording. We can do this more often.
Yeah.
Um, but anyone watching, I hope you found a lot of value from this. This is literally Samuel. He's my coaching client, and he's graduated today and on to big and better things. And we decided to hop on a quick call to record this, questions that he had that might be questions that you have as well. And that's all. You want to say? You want to plug your information here or anything? Follow him. Where can they follow you?
Yeah, they can follow me in LinkedIn, Samuel
Ooh,
Hara,
ooh.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'll throw in
And
like a link to your LinkedIn is on the bottom.
yeah, you can just follow me there, ask me questions. I'm open.
Awesome, man. Great stuff on
Yeah.
LinkedIn lately. Your content's been A1. And I know you're
Oh
going to
yeah,
do some new content on Twitter and Facebook now, right? After we got our lead magnets in place, right?
definitely.
Yeah, buddy. All right. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop recording now. Take care, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.